Hey guys, this is Kelly Williams with Restorative Fitness, and I'm going to do a video today on a really good stretch for really tight outer hips. If you spend a lot of time sitting, or if you've been sitting more lately, a lot of people tend to feel a lot of tightness through here, kind of right below the low back and here on the side of the hips. Now, a lot of times we try to stretch this out, and we think we're getting into that stretch, but then we find maybe 5-10 minutes later that that tension is still there and it's come back. So I'm going to go over today how to do a bent knee forward fold to really isolate everything on the back side and outer side of the hips so you actually get the benefits that you want from the stretch. So we'll start this stretch by coming into a hips distance wide stance, and I'll show you a few different angles on this. From here, the first important cue, if we want to be stretching through here, is to push those hips back. And I like to cue it as taking your index finger and bringing it to the front crease side of where the thigh meets the abdomen. Bring your index finger into that point, into that crease, and then start to push your hips back to where that finger gets pinched or gets rolled into the hip joint. So standing up tall, feet hip distance apart, finger comes to the front side of the hip, so we're going to hinge those hips back. Now, what I'm doing by doing this is I'm taking my pelvis and I'm rotating it over the top of my femur, over the top of my leg bones. And you know this because I'm not losing my low back curve here. I'm maintaining this curve, but I'm also not rounding into my upper back. So I'll show you that again. So hinge here at the waist, start to come forward. Nothing's changing in my back. My back is staying the same. I'm actually opening and stretching through here, right? So I'm getting a lot of length through here. So once we rotate or hip hinge, hands come down on top of those knees. And you're going to turn those fingers in towards each other if you can, right above. So here's my kneecap, right above the kneecap. I'm going to bring my hands here, elbows going out and away. From this position, I'm going to take my pelvis or my tailbone. Think about my tailbone, and I'm going to lift it up even more. But I'm not going to do it by bending my back. So here's what it looks like when you bend your back. So if I'm here and I'm going to round through my back to get forward, as you can see, I'm really rounding up through my mid-back, and I'm not actually stretching anything through here. All of the stretch, when you hunch like that, all of the stretch actually goes into your back, and not very little of it gets actually into your lower body. So this is why we're going over that video today. So hips distance apart, hands come onto those knees, fingers turn in towards each other, elbows turn out. Now, abs pull in, tailbone lifts. So if I'm here in that position, I'm going to lift my tailbone. Holding that position, I'm going to start to push just the right knee back. So I'm straightening into the right leg, and I'm keeping the left knee bent, but I'm also not changing the angle of my back. So back is staying nice and straight, and I'm pushing that right leg back, bending into the left knee to open this up all the way up into the back of the hip. Again, if we round our back in this exercise, it's going to take away from the stretch in the lower body. Step one, you're going to come hips distance apart with your feet. Step two, we're going to sink the hips back, hinging at the hips, keeping the low back in that neutral curve. Hands come onto knees. Step three, hands come onto knees, tailbone lifts. And I'm going to start to push back one leg as I'm holding the stretch. Now, watch what happens if I don't keep this curve in my back. If I start to push that left leg back and I start to round up in my back and I don't have that curve, I'm not getting a lot of stretch here. Again, it's all up in here. So if I want the stretch to stay here, I need to keep the tailbone lifted and keep it that way as I start to push that leg back. If you're really tight in your hamstrings, you may not get very far before you feel that. But that's what we want. We're looking for that stretch to be anywhere along the back side, even up to the outer part of the hip. And the key here is being able to keep that neutral curve while you're doing a forward fold and straightening your legs. So I hope this was helpful, guys. Enjoy stretching. I hope your back and your hips are feeling better soon, and come back for more. Thanks.